Race number 5 of the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship takes us from the smallest track of the schedule to the largest track of the schedule, Talladega Super Speedway. Good evening. My name is Daryl Morley. Alongside me are Nim Cross and Tim Terry as we get set to bring you the action from the fastest track of the circuit, Talladega Super Speedway. And tonight, Tim Terry, these drivers will hit the high banks with the pedal all the way to the floorboards.
Indeed they will, Darryl. You are going to see some fantastic two and sometimes three-wide racing because in order to get to the front of the field, you have to go where the other drivers aren't, and Nim, you're going to have some drafting help to go along with it. If you don't have any partners here early in the race to get you up to the front and have any partners at the end, some friends at the end to get you to the victory lane, you might be a little bit out of luck here in round 5.
Yeah, you definitely need drafting partners, and we're going to see big draft packs here tonight in this race, and 2-3 wide racing will be the norm. Last season's race, we had Brad Davies win it from the pole, and only 3 cautions in that race. So this race doesn't bring a lot of caution flags, but when caution flags do happen, it can contain a lot of cars in it. So we'll have to be careful tonight. This is the first time at this track that these drivers will be able to repair their cars, so we'll see how that works in too.
You mentioned those drafting partners, and you can make those drafting partners one of 2 ways. You can either have them when you get here, or you can build that relationship in the early stages of these runs. And early in the race, Tim, is when you really kind of have to build that relationship with those drivers around you, whether they're already your teammates or not. Really kind of irrelevant coming into Talladega. You really have to be careful early on in the run and establish the fact with those around you on whether or not you're willing to go to the high line. You have to take chances early if you're going to take them later on.
You have to be comfortable with the drivers around you. You have to be comfortable with the line you are taking around this racetrack. It's all about speed here this evening. And speaking about speed, Nim, Thomas Hazard has the speed so far through 4 rounds of this competition. He's up by 4 points over Ray Alfala, and names like Parker, Berry, Main, you see on your screen there, Bernstein, Wood, Wright, Hudson, and Gorlinski round out your top 10. That's a stout field of competition heading to Talladega.
Yeah, all those guys having a real good season so far, but Talladega here, it can be all mixed up because anything can happen here. You're going to be running in these big draft packs, and a lot of what goes on here is out of your control. Somebody 30 cars up in front of you makes a mistake, and it could take you out. So, this is one of those tracks that could really mix up the point standings here, and these drivers will be looking to have a safe run, trying to keep out of the big one, and just get out of here with a decent finish to remain doing well in the point standings.
Tonight's fast qualifier is Steve Sheehan, and that bodes well for Steve Sheehan as far as tonight's race is concerned for a couple of reasons. One, starting position is at a premium here at Talladega Super Speedway for a couple of reasons. One is that premium pit box that he's going to have all the way at the end of pit road, and the other reason is last year's winner came from P1 on the starting grid, Tim.
And you look back there as well, you talk about partners for Steve Sheehan. John Prather's going to start in position number 10, so it's not very far back. If John can get hooked up with another race car and maybe make a couple of positions up, you'll see those Tax Slayer cars get at it early in this race. But as we mentioned before, Nim, there's 43 cars out here, big, huge field at Talladega. I'm sure that if you're starting in the top 5 and your teammate's starting 35th, you're going to find somebody to work with here in these first few laps.
Yeah, the race car drivers, especially these drivers here, the NASCAR drivers, they are are drivers of opportunity, and they will work with whoever's around them. And they're definitely, whoever's next to them or in back of them at that time that's their friend. 43 drivers on this track too. This is the first time that we've had 43 drivers at this track, and so it should be really interesting. You're going to see a lot of guys laying back, trying to find safe spots. Just like you do at Daytona in Cup racing and things like that. So, you're going to see the exact same types of strategies. And one of the most dominant parts of the race we're going to have to keep an eye on are pit strategies. The pit stops is where most positions are going to be either gained or lost, and we're going to have to keep an eye on that.
And several of the drivers that will be coming from the back, I think they'll be utilizing pit strategy, trying to work their way towards the front. And we've asked a couple of these drivers before the race and well before the race, what about pit strategy here tonight? Are you going to be able to take 2 tires and maybe even skip out on some tires and skip a few pit stops here and there and maybe try to work your way towards the front? And the response was a resounding, oh, absolutely, of course. Handling not nearly as important as all-out, pure, unadulterated speed. Talladega is about going as fast as you can. That's all these drivers are worried about tonight, Tim.
And the pit strategy that comes along with it. Do we wait for the caution flag to come down and get that gas? Or do we play a little bit of a gamble and get down from the 180, 190 plus speeds in the draft down to the 55 mile an hour speed limit and risk possibly being caught a lap down when we do make that pit stop? It's a big, huge gamble here this evening on pit strategy. And Nim, with only 3 cautions you mentioned last season, it's magnified with that. We might go green flag the whole race.
Yeah, it's a possibility, and that would definitely be an interesting race to see. Pit strategy, any green flag pit stops is going to be critical. Even yellow flag pit stops can be critical because that's when they're going to, want to be making up those times. But you got to pit with a partner too. There's guys that will be looking at pitting with partners. But we've also seen at times when these guys try to pit with each other, it gets a little crowded coming on the pit road, and that's where a lot of incidents can happen. So they're really going to have to be careful coming into the pits when they're pitting with each other. Everybody's trying to get all they have, and with a lot of cars around and everybody's hitting on the brakes, that could be a time for a lot of accidents too.
These drivers being reminded of the basics of super speedway racing as these racers get set to get in their cars and get these drivers and get these race fans entertained. And the basics of super speedway racing: don't damage your car. Period. That's the basics of super speedway racing. Starting on the pole, the number 39 with a 50.391 second lap of Steve Sheehan. Outside of him, the number 7, the Whiskey River sponsored ride with a 50.392. That's right, that close of a time. The number 7 is Brad Davies.
You get 2 drivers on the next row that are very, very close, having very fantastic seasons so far. It's John Gorlinski on the inside, and last week's winner, 2 weeks ago's winner, Josh Berry on the outside in position number 4.
In the third row, you have car number 27 starting in the 5th spot. That's Chris Main. Outside of him, and car number 10 is Derek Wood.
The Long Island racer, the number 11 machine tonight is Richie Davidowitz, and outside of him, the number 36 of Jordan Erickson.
As the cars roll off, you see the number 9 position is the number 17 at Jeremy Allen. To the outside, John Prather, 25.
On the next row, inside, starting in position number 11, Jordan Hightower. Outside row number 6 is Daniel Pope in car number 19.
Our points leader finds himself starting a little bit deeper in the field than he would like to. The number 4 of Thomas Hazard will roll his Obutto machine to the 13th position, and starting 14th, the number 5 of Jesse Atchison.
13 and 41 roll off the next row. That's Brad Wright on the inside, Patrick Fogel on the outside.
Position number 17 will start with Josh Parker on the inside and Jamison Spees on the outside.
Thomas Lewandowski, he's had a pretty darn good season thus far. Lewandowski will start 19th in the number 20, and Brian Schoenberg will drive the number 9 from spot number 20.
The highest rated driver in the race is number 1, Tyler Hudson. He starts 21st, 22nd, second in points, Ray Alfala.
Position number 23, car number 32, Gene Costa, position number 24 and car 14. Your last season champion, Richard Towler.
CC Chad Coleman will start the number 31 in spot number 25, and outside of him, the number 15 of Joshua Lawton.
Next up on the grid, 18 and 28 respectively, it's Byron Daly on the inside, Nolan Scott on the outside.
Steve Gilbert will be on the inside of the next row in position number 29, and 30th will be Theo Olson.
Florian Goddard will start the number 33 inside of row number 16, and outside row 16, the number 24 of Pedro Mojica.
Charles Cosper, number 2 in 33rd, 34th, Matt Santel.
35th, Greg Spears. 36th, Josh Connors.
Matthew Moose will start the number 12 and 37. 38 is Connor McKenzie.
Anderson and Banerjee, your next row. Nim, we're about to go green.
Yep, Anderson and Banerjee, Sexton, Weimeyer, and Lowry round out the field, and the green flag is out.
Green flag flies. We are underway here at Talladega Super Speedway. Steve Sheehan leads him across the stripe. He'll let Brad Davies will get down behind Steve Sheehan, and Davies has himself a teammate right dropping in behind him. That's number 22 of John Gorlinski.
Got about the top 10 single file here, going back to about John Prather, and Prather now finds a spot in line in front of, I do believe that might be Daniel Pope back there, as these guys get up to speed down the back straightaway. We'll see some side-by-side racing here as soon as these guys find their partners, Nim, and figure out where they want to go here in Talladega.
Yeah, everybody just kind of gets sorted out now. They're all in line here. You see the top 10 cars, at least everybody's in line here, just trying to get sorted out, try to work a number of laps in. This is a 94-lap race, so we got some distance, got some time, and as soon as you start seeing some guys go to the outside line, that's when you start to see that second pack form up. As back in about 20th position, we do have an outside line starting to happen.
What you're finding here, especially up towards the front, look at that second and third place cars. The number 7 of Brad Davies, the number 22 of John Gorlinski. They are both JR Motorsports drivers. They have hooked up. They are teammates. They will stick together for the majority of this race. You're going to find the same thing happening as it's already starting to happen on the outside with other teammates or other team-sponsored drivers. The main performance PC drivers are going to start hooking up with each other as well.
Indeed they will, and you're starting to see that on the high side. The 4 and the 19 back here of Pope and Hazard up here on the high side, and they are going to catch I believe that might be number 36 up there of Jordan Erickson. Now the number 3 pops out of line. Josh Berry looking to make something happen on the high side and bring his team drivers to the front. He's now side by side with John Gorlinski.
Yeah, that outside line is the top 4 cars there on the outside line, the 3, 16, the 4, and the 15. That is all main performance PC cars. So they're all hooking up there on the outside line, and that's the 36, not the 16, Jordan Erickson. But they're all teammates, so they're all looks like they're going to work the outside line there.
Yeah, all the outside line right now, or at least the leaders of that outside line, the outside line charge being led by Main Performance PC sponsored drives. And Main Performance PC, the number 3 of Josh Berry, leads the charge. Then it's the Obuto sponsored rides. And remember, when a Main Performance PC sponsored driver wins the race, one of the fans, I should say, that picked that driver in the forum has a chance to win an Obuto cockpit.
And it did happen 2 weeks ago, Daryl. It could very well happen here in about 90 or so laps here at Talladega, as lap number 4 being worked on the board, as Ray Alfala's back here trying to make his way up to the front of the field after starting about mid-pack.
Yeah, everybody's still trying to get sorted out. There's a little bit 3 wide action going on back in the back, but 14 cars in the wall a little bit.
That's Richard Towler, last year's champion. Richard Towler has found the outside wall here at Talladega.
And we said it earlier, Richard Towler has already had a few bad races, and then with 2 drop races, he really can't afford something like this to happen.
Yeah, he's not had good luck at all this season, finding a lot of problems, some of his own doing, some of other people's doing, but he's not had a good start and not had a good start to the defense of his championship.
Schoenberg kind of got up in front of the 14 of Towler, and Towler got loose, and around went Towler, and tough turn of events for Richard Towler, and now Towler will have some repairs to make on that 14 car. And fortunately, the repair model is well in place here for the Cup cars at within iRacing and at Talladega, so he'll have plenty of time to get it repaired, especially with a big, wide-open track like Talladega, 2.66 miles. Plenty of time as these cars will work their way around this racetrack. Plenty of time for Richard Towler to get that car fixed up.
And it doesn't look too bad from this vantage point, but I'm sure he'll come down pit road and try to massage what is damaged on that race car and see what he has for the remaining 90 laps of this event. We will complete 5 of the 94 laps this time by, and a lot of these drivers up in front were starting to get racy. We saw the 2 lanes that were moving, and we even saw some 3-wide racing back there, Nim, around Jesse Atchison.
Yeah, I think we're going to get to see plenty of three-wide racing tonight as we get all these guys hooked up towards the end of this race. They'll all be trying to get the best position they can. So we're going to see a lot of three-wide action here later on.
It's like the back half of the field coming down pit road, and why not come on down pit road if you're in the back half of this pack. Come on down pit road, get some service done as Brian Schoenberg oversteps the entrance to his pit, so he has to back up. That's going to cost him just a little bit as he gets his pit service done and pulls out, tops off the fuel tank. Schoenberg will pull out of his pit stall after a short visit to the pits here at Talladega Superspeedway, but he overshot his pit stall.
And you don't want to have that happen here at Talladega. I believe Dana Weimer also had a couple of problems getting into his box when he came down pit road under this caution flag. And we see the guys out in front staying out. We talked about pit gambling, pit strategy. Right now, they're not going to take that gamble 5 laps into this event. They want the track position out front.
This is the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship, and racing here at www.iracing.com. If you like what you see, you can visit us at iracing.com. And we have a carburetor cup where you can practice racing these restrictor plate races at Talladega and Daytona as much as you like. So come join us if you like racing NASCAR and restrictor plate racing and any other type of NASCAR racing. Come join us here at iracing.com. We got a special going on right now. Buy 1 month, get 2 months free. So come try it out for $12. You can race for 3 months.
Works out to what, about quick math, $4 a month, and you're not going to have any more fun than you're going to have here for $4 a month. At least nowhere that I know of you're going to have that much fun for $4 a month, and definitely worth a shot if you're considering an attempt into sim racing. Give iRacing a shot. You're going to have a lot of fun, and these drivers are out here, and obviously these drivers are at the top of their game, at the top of the sim racing ladder. But Tim, maybe not everybody wants to be at the top of the ladder, or maybe not everybody, like myself, for example, has a shot at being at the top of the ladder. I don't know that with years of practice I could ever be at a level of a Steve Sheehan or a John Gorlinski or a Chris Mayne or a Derek Wood, perhaps. But there are levels for me, or drivers of my level, my caliber, to have quite a bit of fun here with an iRacing. The street stock is an absolute blast, and those late models, they are a hoot. I love the late models.
And for sure, if you want to come over here to iRacing.com and race your rear end off, and you're as good as these guys, you could very well see yourself in the 2012 edition of this series. But it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication as you see these 43 drivers getting ready to take the green flag. But I'm like you, Daryl. I love the street stock. The late model car is just a blast to drive in the iRacing late model tour. Runs 12 different races each season. And just an awesome simulation that iRacing has, whether you're with the tour modifieds or you like the NASCAR style trucks, whatever you like, you're going to enjoy it over here at iRacing.com. And I know I happened to be down at the NASCAR Hall of Fame here last weekend, Nim, and I had 2 guys with me that have never sat in an iRacing simulator before. They sat behind the wheel at the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and if they're not new members already, they're going to be new members by the end of the week. They absolutely enjoyed it.
Yeah, and everybody has a rating here at iRacing, and you're paired up with people of your skill level. So if you like NASCAR and you want to race these Cup cars at Talladega, come join us. You will race these Cup cars at Talladega, and you will do so with people of your skill level. And no matter what your skill level is, there's competition here for you. And no matter what kind of car you like, we have that flavor over here at iRacing.com also. So come join us and give it a try. For $12, you can get 3 months, and you just enjoy it a lot.
Speaking of enjoyment, one of the things I enjoy green flag racing, and it looks like we are just about set to get back to some green flag racing. The pace car makes that hard left-hand turn down onto pit road, and we are getting set to go back to green flag racing. If this was Daytona, the green flag would be flying right now. However, this is Talladega. We'll wait just a little bit longer. Now the green flag is unfurled. Steve Sheehan unleashes his race car, and we go back to green flag racing.
Guys trying to find a place in line right now. The main performance PC drivers back on that high side trying to make it happen, but it'll take about a half lap for these guys to fully get up to speed and fully know what they have. Josh Berry falls in front of the number 27, waiting for those teammates to make that high line work.
Yep, Thomas Hazard's up on the outside right now. He's got his teammate right along there with him. That's Brad Wright, right on his rear bumper. Those two, Brad Wright's a really good drafting partner to have. He knows how to get right on your rear bumper and draft it as Josh Berry moves up to the outside lane. That's one of the main performance guys. He's the two guys behind will catch up and they'll work together once they get there.
I guarantee you the main performance PC drivers are all on a private voice communications channel, more than likely utilizing either TeamSpeak or a Ventrilo, most likely TeamSpeak, utilizing a private voice communications channel, communicating with one another, saying, all right, guys, let's go to the high side. Let's get the high side working. We're not going to get the inside to ourselves. We may get the high side to ourselves, at least for the time being. And they're coordinating this attack to the high side.
And look at the time they made up off the corner there. Josh Berry now to the outside of the number 22 car of John Gorlinski, looking for third. They're going to get that great run off the corner. They're going to suffer a little bit here because of the fact that the inside line is the quickest way around the race course when you look at distance. Oh, we got one driver off the racetrack, though, Nim, on the apron.
Yeah, he got banged again a little bit there coming through the tri-oval, but able to save it. I believe that was a 31 car, Chad Coleman, who had to save the car on the apron a little bit, but it looks like he kept it gathered up.
Indeed, it was the 31 car of Chad Coleman. He gets it gathered up, and we will stay green flag racing here at Talladega Super Speedway as these drivers continue to work their way around the 2.66-mile tri-oval here at Talladega, here in Takalaka Super Speedway is what we've always called it, or at least I've always called it, for a little bit of fun. And these drivers working their way around the world's largest oval, at least raced oval, as yes, there are larger ovals in the world, but this is the world's largest raced oval, at least commonly raced oval. Somebody's going to come out with some stat on the form. You know that somebody's going to come out with some 8-mile oval that somebody races in, like, I don't know, Denmark or something.
And right now these guys are using the outside line to try to make the move around. The main performance PC guys have been making that high side work, Nim, and it looks like they have some friends back there. Oh, Josh Parker, I believe, is up there as well with Ray Alfala. There's a lot of star power behind these main performance PC drivers who are currently battling for second.
Well, they know that there's a good draft group up there, and they're going to try to get a little toe on that now. We got two wide the whole way back. You see Josh Berry trying to get down as close to that inside line as you can, and the reason he's doing that is he's trying to get a little bit of a side draft off of that inside line. Plus, it's a shorter way around the corner, so that's going to make his outside line and his draft more effective as close as he can get. As we got the 41 car back there. Actually, that's the 43 car getting a little bit sideways back there. That's Jordan Hightower, but he was able to gather it back up. But you'll see these guys work their way to the front, and it's going to take a little bit of time to do so.
Going 3 wide about around the 41 car as the 16 goes to the extreme high side. The 41 in the middle, the 13 down on the low side as we are 3 wide. About 15th position on back as now 3 wide racing action starts to take place here at Talladega. The smooth confines of Talladega Speedway will allow for 3 wide racing action.
And back here you see John Costa pushing on the high side, and it looks like they're making up a little bit of ground. If they could use 1 or 2 more cars up there, they'd make a little more ground back there. But John Costa, no stranger to super speedway racing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, I do believe he won his split in the Daytona 500 we had earlier on this season.
I'm not sure about that, but those guys are doing real good. As we got the outside line getting bunched up there a little bit, they are able to get it worked out. But the 16 of Spees and Costa out there are doing a really good job right now up on the 3rd wide line, and they are making up some ground. So those guys up there are doing a real good job.
Yeah, Theo Olsen had to feather the gas for some reason, and Olsen lost a lot of momentum. The 41 of Patrick Fogel lost some momentum, and up on the extreme high side, Spieth and Costa lost no momentum. Now Olsen starting to build that momentum back up. He's starting to track down Spieth and Costa, but here comes that 41 of Fogel as Fogel tries to work that extreme high side now.
And another reason why these drivers are so good is the anticipation that they have. You see somebody in front of you just barely feather the throttle, everybody behind you lets out just a little bit. The anticipation in this series, the concentration that these drivers have is second to none, as that high line now has 3 drivers, add the 41 of Fogel to the list.
Steve Sheehan still working up front, lap number 14. He's got the 7 car, Brad Davies, right behind. Remember, Brad Davies won this race last year. Brad Davies also your series runner-up last year. So Brad Davies very experienced at this track, doing a good job. He's going to be a guy to watch. John Gorlinski following right behind all these guys up here, previous winners in this series, except for Sheehan.
They are 3 wide and 3 deep back here, about the middle of the pack as the 43 car starts to wiggle just a little bit. That 43 on the inside line, wiggling just a little bit. That's Jordan Hightower from clipping the apron. That's the last thing you want to do here at Talladega is start to clip the apron. Hightower able to keep it on the banking through the corner, however.
One thing you don't want to do, Daryl, you mentioned it, especially with 20 and 30 guys coming at you at 190 miles an hour. As you go on the outside line here, you have the 16, and here comes Josh Parker in the 23, going to make it the extreme high side. 4 cars now up there.
Yeah, Parker up on the outside line. Parker, one of those young guys who's Charger. You know, he was a member of this series last year, learned a lot last year and has been applying it all season long and doing real well all season. Now he's up on that 3rd line up on the outside, and it looks like somebody's going to the inside there. Is that a Fowler going to the inside? Very slick move down the inside to try to break up that main performance PC draft.
It's Ray Alfala driving. I believe Ray Alfala is in the number 6 here tonight. Yes, Ray Alfala driving the number 6, trying to break up that main performance PC draft and trying everything he can. He was able to root the number 25 out of the way. That's John Prather. Prather in the tax slayer number 25, as now he's caught up to the main performance PC guys. I don't know if they're going to be as willing to let Ray Alfala get a nose to the inside of one of them.
You never know, as these guys are still early in the race, trying to work a little bit of strategy there as these teammates run it together at this point. And the one thing that I have been noticing, them, the 2nd place driver, the number 7 of Brad Davies, continues to poke the nose out of course those drivers. Our teammates here in the iRacing community, could it possibly be the number 7 might be overheating this early in the race?
Yeah, well, I don't know. That's a good question. We're going to have to maybe check with some of these drivers. Maybe if we get a caution flag to see what's going on there. But you know, they do dip out. But the main thing that they're going to want to do is stay right behind the other car. They need to get that momentum built up and to stay in that draft and keep it doing so. As we see the 3 car of Josh Berry right now, he's getting up to that 3rd place car. So they are working their way up there.
Berry in the outside line trying to build that momentum. Here they'll come on a charge as they'll start to get a little bit of what looks like a side draft here at Talladega, trying to work up to that inside line as the top 2 cars starting to break away just a little bit. Your top 2 cars continue to be Steve Sheehan and Brad Davies.
And then it's side by side behind them for 2nd place. Looks like Gorlinski might have the advantage here in corner number 2. Down the back straightaway they come. The main performance PC drivers on the outside being led up by Josh Berry. And now the 27 runs in 5th place as the 4 gets a great draft in the straightaway. Thomas Hazard now has the 5th place position as they're 3 wide back here about mid-pack, and they're separating themselves a little bit.
You know, it's so calm to drive these cars. It's so calm to drive these cars around this track. It's so smooth, and you know, by yourself, it's not real hard to do. But in this pack of cars, when you're right on the rear bumper and you got cars inside and outside of you, and you just can't make any mistake with your wheel, it's so nerve-wracking and it's so tense. And with all of these guys, with 43 cars in this draft, you know, all of these guys are very much on the edge right now, and it's not so much that, you know, they're getting the maximum slip angle for the corner. It's just that they're surrounded by cars on each side of you, and nobody here wants to be the guy who makes a mistake and takes everybody out.
These drivers all bunched up, as they will be all night long here at Talladega Super Speedway. If you were looking for some close-knit racing action, you have tuned into the right place. You have found the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship being broadcasted live right here on PSR TV. Working lap number 19, or working lap number 20, 19 laps in the books here at Talladega Super Speedway. Round number 5 of the 2011 NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship.
And as you rode on board there with Thomas Hazard, these drivers trying to keep their cars, number 1, in pristine condition to get to lap number 94, as Darrell mentioned in the pre-race, and to get to lap 94 to survive to that point and then be up front and make your move at that time to win this race. Right now, these guys are calm to the point that they're riding, but of course they're up on the wheel, especially if you're about mid-pack back here. Let's say you're John Costa in the middle, 3 wide.
One thing these guys are going to have to start thinking about is fuel strategy. But with that first yellow flag, probably people can make it to halfway. So that will make it a one-stop race. And then we got to about the second half of the field, the guys in the back who did make a pit stop and topped off on fuel. So probably from here, most everybody can make it to halfway, make their pit stop, and go on from here. So maybe a one-stop race.
Looking at the 21 of Connor McKenzie, the young one. He's got himself a brand new sponsor on that car, TC's Custom Diecast, on the number 21 of Connor McKenzie. I know Connor's very proud of that sponsorship. TC's Custom Diecast of your iRacing ride. And we talked to the owners of TC's Custom Diecast a couple times. TC'sCustomDiecast.com, I do believe, is the website, and not overly expensive to get your iRacing right into Custom Diecast.
And one of their clients is Richard Towler, last season's champion here in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. He can give you a great testimonial on the great work that Tim does at TC's Custom Diecast.
You see Richard Towler leading the group, kind of hanging back here a little ways, trying to keep a safe position right now. Maybe the big one's going to happen up front. These guys want to try to avoid that, and also maybe make their move a little bit later on in the race and let the guys up front race as hard as they want right now.
Looking at the second pack, still all grouped up here at Talladega Super Speedway, and these drivers really having to use all of their concentration. And Tim, at the end of a Talladega race, maybe you're not physically worn out, but mentally, emotionally, you are absolutely drained.
Indeed you are. You have to be thinking for every single portion of the 94 laps that we are running here. There's no time. Well, maybe under caution when you're in your pit stop and in your pit stall, you might not be focusing that much. When you're under green and NIM, we've seen it before, these guys can go 90 plus laps caution free. You're always on the hammer. You're always thinking about what's going to happen next. Anticipation and concentration, the two big words.
Yeah, you got a guy right on your rear bumper. You're right on somebody else's rear bumper. There's no room for any mistakes. There's a guy to your left. There's a guy to your right. You're a guy you're in the middle here. You're getting down to the corner, and it's not just about these cars being all over the place, but when you're approaching the corner, all you see is the back of the car in front of you, and you can hardly see the corner coming. So you got to be precise on your turn into the corner. When the corner gets there, you can't really see around you. Your visibility is terrible, and if you make one little mistake, you're into the guy next to you, and everybody's mad at you.
You ride in car with the number 6 of Ray Alfala. Ray Alfala giving us a ride around Talladega Superspeedway as the driver's up in the front of this pack, kind of just trying to settle into a nice relaxing ride here at Talladega, or as relaxing as it can be when you're inches off the bumper of the car in front of you. You've got a car inches off the bumper behind you, and you're traveling in speeds in excess of 190 miles an hour.
You got to keep on the hammer, and you got to make sure that the guy in front of you doesn't do something that might end up throwing you off your game a little bit, as these guys are tucked up tight together down the back straightaway. 2 lanes for about 6 or 7 deep, and then you have that third lane starting to form and starting to bring themselves to the front of the field, as it's side by side right now. Nim for positions number 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, you know what you were talking about earlier, why these guys might be dipping out and looking to the side a little bit. Maybe we were thinking temperature. And you know what? I don't think that's it at all. I think it's just they want to see where they're going. They're dipping out there to get a check on their surrounding and what's around them, just to get that visual check on, what part of the track they're on and stuff like that. So, I think that's a lot of it on what's going on there. And we see Thomas Hazard right there on the back of the 4 car, and you see Chris Main down there right there on the back of Gorlinski. They're dipping out just to try to take a look, so they get a good bearing on where they are on the track and what corner's coming up.
They may very well try to get an idea on what corners are coming up. In turn 3, you can kind of get an estimate on what's coming up with the staining on the racetrack, and that's one of the neat things about Talladega, the rundown staining on the racetrack from where the rundown is entering turn number 3. It's always been a nice visual cue for me anyways on the entrance of turn number 3, but entering turn number 1, if you're on that inside line, kind of hard to get a visual cue on exactly where you are.
And when you look back in your rearview mirror and you have 20 plus, 30 plus cars back there, it's kind of hard to gauge a view as to where you are. But the great thing about these iRacing racetracks, as we mentioned before, Nim, scan down to the millimeter. So if you see that standing on the wall in the sim car, you're going to see it in the real car as well.
That's right. We take a laser scanner to all these tracks, and every track is laser scanned, and every track is accurate down to the millimeter. So if you see it at the real track, you'll see it here, and that's why a lot of real-world racers use iRacing.com cars and tracks to train on for their real-world experience.
Drivers continue to log laps here, and we could find ourselves with a nice long green flag run and potentially some green flag pit stops, and that could throw a wrench in the works for a lot of these drivers up at the front of the field that did not pit under that yellow flag, Tim.
And we've been green flag racing since lap number 8, so that could very well spell a problem for those drivers that did happen to fall back out of the lead draft. They're already 8 seconds back there. If they catch a caution, fine, but if they don't catch a caution and something happens that we do have some green flag pit stops happening, that could throw them off the plan. And also if you have a problem on your green flag pit stop, that could take you out of this lead draft and put you a couple of laps back.
Yeah, pit stops are going to be the key part of this race. When the pit stops happen, it's all going to be about getting on pit road, the group of guys that you're doing with. Maybe there's going to be too many guys. Sometimes it's good to wait an extra lap and just pit with a couple people so you can get on pit road a little bit faster. But that pit road is going to be a key moment in this race. And we're on lap number 30 right now. Got about 15 to 18 laps before that happens.
You ride on the roof of Josh Parker's number 23 car as Parker works his way out of, I believe that was turn number 4, and indeed it was turn number 4 as Josh Parker finds himself in the middle of a 3 wide, and that's not where you want to be, in the middle of a 3 wide, as I never like being in the middle lane on the highway. Josh Parker finds himself in the middle of a 3 wide at over 190 miles an hour. A little bit different at 70 miles an hour than it is at 190 miles an hour. Josh Parker still in the middle of a 3 wide.
And if you're on the outside of the Talladega Superspeedway, there's a little bit of a wall there. If you're on the inside, there's a little bit of an apron. you have cars on both sides of you when you're in that middle right now. On the outside, I believe that's Jamison Spies out there. On the inside, it's Thomas Lewandowski thereabouts around Josh Parker. So you don't want to put yourself in that position. At least when Daryl and I are in that position, we don't like to put ourselves in the position. Of course, these guys out here are professionals. They know what they're doing, and they know their surroundings around this Talladega Superspeedway.
You know, there's different nuances of each line. The inside line, you know, you got the whole escape part to the left. So if anything happens, you got room to the left to try to escape. But you're stuck down there on the inside. When the outside line's to your right, you've got nowhere to go as far as passing goes. And that outside line too, it's pinching you down on you know, going through the apron. So you got to be really careful not to get up into them. And you're always thinking, why is that guy pinching me so hard? The middle line, you're up there, and it's a little bit easier to drive. You're a little bit more free out there, but you're trying to draft, and then. But you got that third line that comes up and it makes you in the middle, and you got nowhere to go, and that's when it's totally nerve-wracking. So if I had any line to choose, I like to be on the outside. The only problem with the outside line, if anything happens, you've got nowhere to go in your dog meat.
Friends, I received a message earlier on today, and I'd like to pass it on to you so you kind of understand a little bit of what's going on tonight and a little bit of what's going through the minds of a lot of these drivers here tonight as well. The message came from Brian Blackford. He wrote to me, he said, a lot of us lost a very good friend of ours. His name was Nick Hansen. Nick was born on July 14th, 1989, which made him just 21 years old. And Saturday, he passed away unexpectedly at his home in Niles, Michigan. He was an Oval Pro Series driver last season and had numerous wins all across the iRacing community. He'd been a sim racer for nearly a decade and had many friends within the sim racing community. He competed in many other leagues and was one of the best short track drivers that I've ever seen race online. Nick enjoyed racing his Ford Focus midget in the physical world and was an accomplished musician, proficient in guitar, and had been composing original works. A lot of the veteran Oval DWC drivers, that's what these drivers call this series, is DWC, knew him very well and will be racing with very heavy hearts tonight. He was a competitive yet kind person to everyone he came in contact with and will be dearly missed. Surviving family include his parents, Gene and Debbie Hansen, and his sister, Mindy Hansen. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. When I get off my suspension, I'll be running a tribute car for the rest of the season. He wasn't sure if this information would be welcomed into the broadcast. It is, Brian, and we thank you for sending this information along. He wanted us to know that whenever he had the option of choosing a number, he always chose, and this is Nick, always chose the number 37. As a result, in 2 laps, when we start lap number 37, the broadcast will go silent. You will hear the sound of the motors. You will hear nothing else. The reason for that is lap number 37 will be set aside for Nick Hansen and the Hansen family. So in 2 laps, the announcers will go silent, and it will be Nick Hansen's lap.
And he's one of those drivers that you hop onto the iRacing community, you hop onto an iRacing server, and you would see in there. And you mentioned the pro driver status that he had. Just a fantastic racer and a fantastic racer on and off the racetrack, and he will be missing him.
Yeah, one of the great parts about the service, you know, we have great racing. We have you know, real world accurate tracks. We have real world accurate cars, and the racing is a blast. But one of the great things about iRacing.com is the camaraderie and friendship and the friends you make on here. So that, you know, a big part of the service is the people you race with and the friends that you make. And you know, when you lose a friend, it's tough for all of us.
It certainly is, and the next time these drivers go by the start-finish line, they will start lap number 37 as they are working that 36th lap right now. So they'll start that 37th lap, and Steve Sheehan will start the 37th lap, and Steve was one of those drivers that I'm pretty sure is aware of Nick Hansen, and anyone that was aware of Nick and was friendly with him will have Nick in their hearts for this next entire lap. Again, we will go silent. This lap is for Nick Hansen. Godspeed to Nick Hansen and to the Hansen family. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. Tim?
And as these drivers work down the back straightaway, it is single file for your top two, and then it continues to be side by side for third. And Nim, that's how it's been the last couple of laps. We got some more drivers up there now on the high side to push that high side along. But what do they need to do to get up there with Steve Sheehan and Brad Davies and try to lead this thing?
They need to just stay in line and try to work as best they can. Maybe a little bump on the straightaways will help them out. But it's really hard to get that outside line up to the first place car. But we've seen it done. We saw it done at Daytona, and we've seen it done here before. So it's hard to do, but we'll see if these guys can do it.
I believe it can be done, and one of the things that they're going to have to do is maybe start to force that inside line a little bit further to the inside, maybe squeeze that inside line down a little bit. I think it's still a little bit too early in the race to try doing that right now. I think right now, just sort of relax, kick back, let the pit stops fall where they may, and see what happens later on in this race. You're still only working lap number 39, about to start working lap number 40 of a 94-lap race. Still plenty of time to go in this race. No need to start trying to squeeze drivers down now, but when the time comes, start squeezing them down out of turn number 2. Start squeezing them down out of turn number 4. See if you can't break that momentum, Tim.
And that's what it's all about. It's all about momentum, especially here at Talladega Superspeedway when you're on the loud pedal for the duration of this 2.66 miles around this racetrack. You got to keep the momentum rocking. You got to know who's in front of you. Get some push from behind you. Get in the draft and work. And right now, it seems to be working for the 37 drivers that are in this lead draft right now. There's a couple of guys hanging back, waiting for something to happen in this lead pack. And if it does happen, Nim, it's going to be like a bomb going off. You'll see cars going everywhere.
Yeah, I think Daryl's right, though. They are waiting for pit stops. Pit stops is going to be the key moment in this race, and we're probably going to see a lot of these positions change during pit stops. So it's no use to take any chances right now as far as running real close to the inside line and trying any risky moves. Pit stops is where it's all going to happen. If we can get through that period without a yellow, then that'll be a big deal. But that's the point where we're going to try to make their passes next.
I turn my head, I look behind me, and look who has snuck into the booth. iRacing President Tony Gardner. Mr. President, nice to see you again. And just like that, he's gone. Go figure.
Well, I'm sure he'll be back in here in just a few moments' time. He's enjoying the awesome racing here at Talladega Superspeedway. 2 wide all around this racetrack in this lead pack. And I'm sure there's going to be some 3 wide popping out here before long as we work lap number 42 of 94.
Yep, pit stops up here and about, they had the caution flag, so maybe somewhere around lap 50 we'll be seeing pit stops for those who stayed out. Maybe a lap or 2 more for those who took on fuel during that caution we had on lap 6 or 7, I believe it was. But since then, a green flag run, everybody staying pretty much single file, and nothing real good going on, or nothing big going on yet, but we're about to have that moment soon.
I'd say we're getting real close to green flag pit stops, another 5 or 6 laps or so, and you can afford to come down. If you've made your pit stop, if you made that pit stop earlier on in the race, you can obviously go a little bit further than your leaders can. Leaders have to be starting to really, watch that fuel mileage. I don't know exactly how far they can go. Tim, did you get fuel mileage stats on these drivers yet?
For some reason, I think they can go about 60 to 70 laps, and that's pushing it to the farthest that they can go on these tanks of fuel. But then you look at the strategy. Do you come in, do you short pit a little bit, or do you go to the longest that you can go and then decide to come down pit road? I think we're going to see some different strategy, more at the rear of this pack, Nim, than we would at the front, because we know that track position can be very key, especially when you come down to the end of a race like this.
Yeah, maybe with the old fuel tanks we could go that far, but not with these new fuel tanks. About 48 laps of green flag running, is what I believe can happen. But with that caution flag, that's going to stretch us out just a few more laps. So I believe we're looking at around lap 50 or so before we start to see that, and that's coming up here in about 5 laps.
So one pit stop for these drivers, and the drivers that are on the outside, they're kind of at the mercy of the drivers that are on the inside. So if you're on the inside and you want to push it all the way to the fuel window or all the way to the end of the fuel window, the drivers on the outside really kind of have to either muscle their way to the inside or kind of go when you go.
And the other thing we have to keep track of as well, Daryl, you're at the mercy of the drivers that you pit with. Of course, you want to pit with drivers in order to get back out on the racetrack and get in a draft. But you want to trust the guys in front of you that they have a setup that when you come down and you slam the brakes on coming down onto pit road, they're not going to spin or they're not going to fishtail and get into somebody else. You have that a little bit more when you go in to an open server or a hosted session or one of the sanctioned races, Nim. But this here, you have to keep ahead and keep a watch ahead of what's going on in front of you, especially when you come down pit road.
Yeah, it's really hard getting on pit road here. You come off corner number 4, you're doing 190 mile an hour, and you got to be at the pit road speed limit. By the time you get to the start of pit road, the yellow line, and your brakes are cool, and your tires are small, and you're going that fast, and you got to be really. You can't just slam on the brakes. If you lock up these tires for just an incident, you ruin the tires. So you got to be really smooth on the brakes. You got to be really caring about getting in. And then if you're pitting with a group of cars, you got everybody around you doing the same thing, and not everybody's doing exactly the same thing at the same time. So you got to be really careful. Some guys are definitely going to screw up and burn up their tires and lock them up getting on pit road. And then you got those guys who are only going to take 2 tires on their stops, and they're going to try to get off pit road with 2 tires and try to save some time there. But since we have had the caution, early in the race, and we got some cars pitting now, since we had the caution where people are going to pit about midway, they're going to need to take on a full tank of fuel, so they're probably going to be taking 4 tires also. If we had to make that 4-tire stop or that pit stop later in the race, 2 tires might be a better option at that point.
Jeremy Allen, the first driver in, making his pit stop, and it looks like it's going to be 4 tires, fill it up with fuel, and begging the crew to give him some sort of rocket booster, but no such luck. 4 tires, fill the tank up with fuel, and get on back out to the racetrack and do everything he can as a driver to make that car faster, Tim.
And it looks like we're going to have a couple of our top guys come down this time by. Brad Davies throwing the hand out the window saying he's coming down onto pit road. Number 7 of Davies coming down, and he's going to bring a whole host of drivers with him.
Yeah, it looks like everybody gets on pit road pretty good right there. No contact with each other, so a lot of guys being able to make good pit stops here. No contacts. I didn't see anybody locking up tires, but that could definitely happen there.
Saw some drivers get out of shape a little bit. Some possible wheel hop, not flat out lock up. Sheehan overshoots. He has to back up. That's going to cost him some time and more than likely positions, Tim.
Oh, that's going to kill his run on pit road. Boy, oh boy, he's going to lose a lot of time on the pit road, is Steve Sheehan, and that's your former leader of this race.
Derek Wood had some problems on coming off of pit road. It looks like he got clipped, maybe by Sheehan. I'm not sure who, but he might have had a little bit of problem there coming off of pit road. No, he just spun the tires and turned his car nosed into the pit wall. So Derek Wood having a lot of problems on his pit stop.
The next clump of drivers heading down onto pit road, and I believe Ray Alfala is in that group, Tim.
Indeed he is. Ray Alfala, Josh Parker among them, as some of these drivers now pulling out down and away. I believe Schoenberg might be in here as well. Connor McKenzie is also on here. Pedro Mojica. And check that Schoenberg's not in this group, but I tell you what, there's a lot of fast drivers, and Ray Alfala going to beat them off pit road by about 8 car lengths.
We anticipate our leaders coming down pit road very, very soon. Josh Berry is our race leader. Thomas Hazard sits in second. Daniel Pope, the second, is in third. Erickson follows them. Then Jean Costa is there as well. And here they come, leaders coming down pit road. This could be our final visitors to pit road, and it looks like, no, we'll have some more after them.
And there's 9 of them down on pit road this time by the 3 main performance PC drivers leading the field down. Hazard and Berry very close in the racetrack when they came down onto pit road, and now they are at the attention of their crews going to get service done on their race cars.
Yeah, this group did a real good job getting to the pits without didn't see anybody lock up their tires, so everybody got there, but they're in trouble on the back straight, and the caution flag is out.
And it looks like it's Ray Alfala possibly in trouble on the backstretch. It is Ray Alfala having difficulty on the backstretch, and that is bad news for Ray Alfala, and it's bad news for a couple more drivers as well. Ray Alfala looks like it may have been, we'll double check, but it looks like the 22 came down into Alfala, and 22 must have had just a little bit of help getting down there, possibly an ill-timed bump.
And you look at the replay here, 25 also gets involved in it at John Prather. There's a couple of innocent bystanders that looked like they were going to get behind him and just couldn't seem to wiggle their way through.
Yeah, that's always the case here at Talladega. When something happens, it's hard to get woke down, and that can definitely happen. But it's one of those deals. It looks like Ray's got some damage to the back of the car there, and it's going to have to be worked on to get that fixed.
Tyler Hudson is your race leader. He stayed out on the racetrack, has not yet made his pit stop, and once he makes his pit stop here, Tim, I think he's going to lose a lot of ground.
I believe he is too, as Hudson now comes to the attention of his crew. 15, I believe that is behind him, going to come through as well, and there's a couple of other guys here too going to follow him down, so they're standing to lose a little bit of track position as well, Nim.
Let's see if we can't hook up with iRacing President Tony Gardner. Tony, it's been a crazy couple of weeks, and I know that you've been awfully busy as well. Thanks for taking some time and spending some time with us here on PSR TV, buddy.
Well, thanks for having me, Darryl. Glad to be here. It has been busy around the office the last couple of weeks.
It's always busy around the iRacing offices, and I know that you guys are working feverishly, as you always are, and it's always nice to be able to take some time out and watch some action here whenever the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship is in action. Is this something that you kind of look forward to every couple of weeks?
Yeah, I do. I watch all these races, and I enjoy just sitting down and watching them as a fan. I try to almost take my work hat off and from one perspective and watch them as a fan. So. I really enjoy them. And nice tribute to Nick Hansen, by the way. It's amazing how the community, the sim racing community, kind of stands up for one another here. So and looks out for one another.
Do you find it hard to kind of sit back and take the iRacing president hat off and put the fan hat on and watch these races as a fan, or is it getting easier?
Yeah, it's getting easier to, last year I was nervous a lot and thinking about it from everything from a work perspective, and starting to relax a little bit and watch these races as a fan as well as, how can we improve this or that. But I find myself quite often just watching it as a fan and enjoying the racing.
New build coming out relatively soon. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, we're really excited. We this summer we have a build coming out in April and a build coming out in July, and I really think this is probably the most exciting period of iRacing in its history. Um, one big thing after another. But in April, we have an award system coming out, which is where you can earn awards, 74 different awards at this point. We'll have the damage repair completed for every car. We're going to do a teaser release for the new tire model. That looks like it's going to go, and we're going to roll it out for the nationwide car and probably a road car as well. We're going to give out the new nationwide car will be in the build. We'll be giving that, if you own the existing nationwide car, you'll get that for free. We're going to roll out the Okayama track in Japan. We're going to roll that out, give that away to everyone for free. New graphics for the Skip Barber car. We're going to start some animation in the sim in this build. New telemetry tools coming out. The list goes on and on. There's 100 small things in this build. A lot to do with hosted racing. You can schedule hosted racing a year in advance. You can pick different sessions for hosted racing or private league racing, 2-hour sessions, 4-hour sessions, 6-hour sessions, a bunch of things like that. The July build is the real big one, though, with the new tire model launching, heat racing. We're going to roll out some driver aids for hosted sessions in certain series. Major aero changes. These drivers will be able to drive the high line so much better. So we're really excited about that. Obviously, really excited about the tire model. Another track, Suzuka track, Iowa, a Ford GT car, LMP2 car coming out in that build. So the list goes on and on. There's a lot coming out this summer.
I think you just wore out every single pencil of every iRacer within the service. They're all taking notes feverishly, and they'll have to go back and rewatch the broadcast over and over and over again. That's a lot of stuff to work on. The programmers at iRacing have to be working at a fever pitch to try to keep up, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. It's funny. You get like things 80 or 90% done, and they don't make it a build, and then everything piles up and all makes it in one build. I mean, I didn't list a whole bunch of things, but headlights. So you'll be coming out in the July build, so you'll be able to drive on road courses using headlights and reflectors, which is really neat. Just a big long list of things coming out. So we're really excited. I think this is the biggest time in our history for sure. I said that earlier, since we launched 3.5 years ago. But it's going to be exciting this summer. What we're going to look like, then compared to now.
You mentioned some of the animations. What kind of animations are we looking at here?
Well, I mean, we'd like to get fully animated pit crews, but we're going to start with driver arms on wheels and things like that. It's a lot of work, but the point is we're moving down that path. But hopefully we'll have in this coming build is in this April, just a couple weeks away. We're hoping to have the driver arms on the Skippy car. We did that whole car over with all new graphics, and it will include some driver arms. So you out of car, you'll see that. So, but animated pit crews, things like that. Those are the things that we hope to have down the road. So it's a start in that whole process.
Tony, you've given us some very exciting things to look forward to, and April and July seem to be some very exciting months, and always exciting times here around iRacing. Thank you so much for spending some time, and we're going to let you put that fan hat back on and enjoy the rest of this broadcast. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys. You're doing a great job. It's a nice, clean race, and really enjoying it. Thanks a lot.
That's Tony Gardner, president here of iRacing, and again, want to thank him for spending some time with us here on PSR TV. And Tim, some very exciting things coming at us here on iRacing.
And speaking about exciting, we're going to get to watch Josh Berry and Thomas Hazard come from the rear of this field. They had some pit stop cycling problems, I guess we can call it. Now they're back in 26th and 27th place. Olsen, Gilbert, Davies, Allen, Schoenberg, top 5 coming to the green.
Yep, Theo Olsen on the front row. He's in that catbird seat right now. And whenever you have a caution flag, during pit stop times, it really mixes things up, and people don't really understand where they could be. As the one car right there has a little bit of contact with the 17 on that restart. It's Tyler Hudson and Jeremy Allen.
3 wide right off the bat for about the 5th position, 3 wide, as they immediately start to go to work here as Tyler Hudson finds himself in the middle of a 3 wide and already got some rear damage to that number 1 car.
Yeah, Hudson saw green. He went to the hole that nobody was at and tried to make up the positions, and right now it's working to about 5th place as they go side by side behind him. I believe that might be Thomas Lewandowski starting to make his move. He's up into the top 10, and now he's on the outside looking to get a little bit of a draft from Tyler Hudson, Jesse Atchison off the racetrack.
Yeah, but he's able to get back in line as the car behind him, I believe that's the 11 car, Richie Davidowitz, allowed him to get back in line and checked up there a little bit for him, but that was a good save. And now Atchison again going down the inside, and we have trouble behind.
Several cars involved in this one. The 19 also involved in the later stages. The 41 heavily involved in this one, spinning across the racetrack. Several cars involved in one all the way down on the apron. We've got several cars involved in this incident, and this is going to seriously hamper the race of several drivers, and it looks like it may have started right about the 31 and the 3, the 31 off the front bumper of the 3, Tim.
I think we can call this the mini big one right now, Daryl, as there's probably less than a dozen cars involved, but probably more than a half dozen cars. The biggest one we've seen so far, the 18 of Byron Daly. Was watching him try to go through this, Nim. He goes on the apron of the racetrack, and then out of nowhere, I believe that's Matt Centel that comes down just right in front of him. Nowhere to go for Byron Daly, and he's going to have a little bit of damage to the front end of that race car.
Yeah, a lot of cars getting picked up on that one. It started up front, though, with the 3 and the 39 car. It looks like the 3 wanted to make a 3 wide, and maybe the 39 car wanted to shut the door, didn't want that to happen. So a little bit of maybe defensive driving going on back there. But, you know, it's so hard, these draft lines, and, you know, the different people trying to hold position or whatever. But the 39 car and the 3 car looks like where it started, and that got the 3 car wiggling a little bit, and he turned the 31 car right up into the fence.
We're going to see if we can get booth-to-car communications with Steve Sheehan. Steve Sheehan, this is Daryl in the PSR TV booth. You got me?
Yeah. What's up, guys?
Steve, you're just driving along, kind of relaxed, trying to log some laps. All of a sudden, the mirror fills with smoke. What happened, buddy?
Well, first of all, I have to tell everybody that the tax deadline's coming up on the 18th, so make sure you guys do your taxes. TaxLayer.com is an awesome sponsor, so got to give a shout out to them first and foremost. I'm not sure what happened right there. It looked like we had some confusion in the scoring tower this past caution, and it got a lot of people upset, and a lot of people are driving upset right now. And I'm not so sure that was the last of the smoke. I really should be up there with Brad and all of them. I kind of screwed up my green flag pit stop. I really just have to survive because, like I said, a lot of people are driving upset right now.
We heard there may be an issue between you and the 3 car. What's going on there?
No. I have no idea.
What's it going to take to get that 39 car back up towards the front, bud? You got a long way to go.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, like you guys have seen, this is, it's really, really hard to really program air and how it works. And, I mean, like you guys have seen it, you don't have the 2-car tango, you don't have, you know, the upper groove here. We're kind of just fighting for the low line, and you're seeing the outside line of traffic pinching really bad on the inside. That's not for side draft. That's them trying to screw the inside line up and trying to get draft from the cars up front in front of them. If they pinch hard enough, they can get a little bit of air. So to come from back here and to go up there with that kind of driving conditions, it's very difficult. Like I said, I just have to try to man, I know I know a couple of the guys behind me really got hit hard by that last scoring issue, so that I just really just want to stay out of their way. Hopefully they don't take me out here, but they're pretty good.
I know you're going to have a hard time trying to work your way up towards the front here. What's it going to take to try to keep that car clean? Obviously, your concern is trying to get to the front, but getting to the front with a bent-up race car is not going to do you any good at all.
Yeah, I really came into this week really wanting a good finish. I mean, I'm back there in points. I have not finished well this season, and God, I got a good starting spot. Obviously, put the Tax Slayer car on the pole, and like I just talked about, it's really tough to pass here. And if I would have hit my green flag pit stop right, I'd be sitting pretty. But now I got myself back here, and the real only way to move up the field is to really put the car in the middle and get in all sorts of trouble. It's really the only way to race here, and it's not a good time, but that's kind of the box we're in. I can't promise I'll have all the fenders on at the end of the race, but the most important thing for me is getting a solid top 10.
I think the boss would say drive it like you rented it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I really need a good finish, so I know the guys around me are pretty upset with how they got screwed, but I want to get up there too.
All right, buddy. Well, do everything you can. Put the hammer down and don't look back, all right?
Oh, yeah. Remember, everybody watching, do your taxes. Go sign into www.taxslayer.com and visit their website. Let's see if they notice some hits on their website during the broadcast. That'll sit well. Thanks, guys.
Or preferably right after the broadcast. That'd be even better, right, Steve? After.
Well, they can still watch the broadcast. Yes, of course.
All right, that's Steve Sheehan. He's on the TaxSlayer.com sponsored ride. Visit TaxSlayer.com right after the broadcast and do your taxes.
What's that, Daryl? I was on TaxSlayer.com.
One thing about people said they're upset about that caution flag and stuff like that, or scoring, and I'm sure they'll go back and check the replays and stuff after things get sorted out and after the race. But it's always confusing, when everybody's making pit stops and caution flag comes out. You got some guys that were just in the lead or a lap behind and all kinds of stuff. And then I also noticed that there were guys behind the pace car who were supposed to pass the pace car because the pace car picks up the leader, and they didn't do that. So a number of people were confused, and I bet you when they go back and see things get sorted out, it's probably not as mixed up as it should be. But we'll see. We'll see how it works.
Driver that came in second in points, Ray Alfala, having a rough night, finds himself all the way back in 34th position here tonight with a damaged, bent-up race car. This is not going to be a good night for Ray Alfala, Tim.
And this is where the drop weeks start to come into your mind. These guys are starting to focus a little more on the points as we go deeper in the season. We're on round number 5 right now, and these guys will have 2 drop weeks to contend with, which means they can drop their 2 worst points nights of the season. But you really don't want to use those drop weeks early in the campaign. We saw with Richard Towler, he's had a tough season so far, and with 4 races in, he's likely not going to be able to repeat as champion. He can get up on the wheel and try to get up there, but it's going to be really difficult for he to repeat his champion. And you look at Ray Alfala right now, who is having those problems. He's had 4 great races so far. He's second place up there in the point standings. He can afford one of these drops right now, Nim, just as long as he doesn't have 2 or 3 more in the remaining rounds of this campaign.
Yeah, you'll use 2 somewhere, but you never want them to happen early, obviously. It's always nice to have them in hand when you get to the last 2 races of the season, but that's pretty unlikely to happen because everybody gets bit by some bad luck sooner or later, especially at a track like Talladega here, where not everything is in your hands and you can get caught up in somebody else's mistake. The pace car is off the track. Theo Olsen in the capper seat. He's got last year's defending race winner Brad Davies starting alongside of him.
Green flag flies. We are back underway. Olsen starts him under his conditions, on his terms, and Olsen gets the start that he wants. Theo Olsen will have the number 17 of Jeremy Allen right behind him. Allen will get a better start than will Brad Davies.
And Davies now up on the high side, and as these guys get up to speed, he has nobody with him to give him a little bit of help. As soon as these guys, though, get up to speed, you'll see the accordion effect come back in, and these guys will bunch all back in together, and we'll have one big pack of 30-plus drivers as Brad Davies tries to get a little momentum, but it's not going to happen. Here comes Tyler Hudson on the inside. Hudson going to take third.
As the cars make their way around corner number 1 and 2 here, Theo out front. It looks like Hudson and Jeremy Allen looking to the outside and inside. Now Allen made a move, a fake to the outside, and then darted to the inside. I believe that was Jeremy Allen there. And he's going to pick up that third spot and put Hudson back on the outside line. Actually, that was Brad Davies making that move.
It looked like Hudson thought about going to the outside line to work with Brad Davies. Davies kind of snookered him, dove down to the inside line, as now we've got several drivers once again considering that outside line, considering the run to the outside line, Davies being one of them.
And you look back here as well, we have a bunch of cars back here, Thomas Hazard being one of them that's stuck right in the middle, stuck in the hornet's nest right now. Steve Sheehan's back there, and Josh Parker cuts down right in front of Steve Sheehan. There's a lot of action going on back here, and we talked about the bomb. If they keep racing like this, the bomb could be going off in a couple of laps.
Yeah, well, we're getting down to the end of the race here. We're on lap number 63 of 94. Only, right now as we passed right now, we're still working lap number 64, so 31 laps to go. This is getting down to the end of it. You got to position your car, position yourself to get that good finish now, and you got to start taking chances now. And now is the prime moment to get those mistakes to happen and to possibly have the big one. But now you're going to see people racing and trying to get those positions.
Three wide around the number 11 of Richie Davidowitz. Davidowitz in the middle of a three wide. The number 26 hung out. That's Jason Anderson. Anderson hung to the outside of this three wide, and he's looking for some help on that high side, Tim.
I see Jean Costa back there trying to poke the nose to the outside, but nothing doing. He knows that real estate right now coming down to the last third of this race is going to be key. He pokes back into line as these guys are bumping and banging, a little bit of bump drafting down the back straightaway, and we almost saw a couple of cars pounce out of line.
Yep, things are getting excited now, and now they're getting backed up there, back in the back of the pack a little bit. To see, that's one thing. You know how you're stopping at a red light or you're on the highway, and some car 10 cars up hits the brake, and you have this accordion effect that goes the whole way back through the field, and it just gets exacerbated the further back you go, and that's what's going on now. One guy has to check up front, and it gets pretty scary on back the line. So you got to be really careful.
Looking at 24 of Pedro Mojica as Mojica runs around the 10th position here at Talladega. Pedro Mojica having a nice solid top 10 run. Pedro Mojica, by the way, needs a nice solid run to get himself back into the chase here within the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship.
Talked about drops a little bit earlier. You don't want to dig yourself a hole, especially early in this season, because you're going to be digging the whole season to get out of it with the caliber of drivers and the competition that we have in this NASCAR iRacing Series World Championship. Working past to complete lap number 65. We work lap number 67 now being worked on the board. We just completed 66. There's a little bit of smoke going on back here, and these guys checking up a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like everything's still okay, green, and we got a little bit of four wide back there. I believe that's Sheehan. We just saw Sheehan earlier talk about not wanting to put himself in a bad position right there, but he got in the four wide back. I believe that was Atchison, but all sorted out down to a three wide right now.
I think Steve Sheehan kind of finding himself in a situation where he has no choice. Look at the 43 diving down to the inside. The 43 car dove way down to the inside as gets it gathered back up. That's Jordan Hightower. Hightower gathers it back up as GSR and the Landon Castle qualifying challenge sponsoring the 43 of Landon Castle. I mean, of Jordan Hightower. That's not Landon Castle in that car.
Making Landon proud, though, up near the front of this field as they work into corner number 3. The 43, 5th place in line on the low side. About 9th place overall if you want to stack those cars up on the high side in the mix as well. The one of Tyler Hudson giving a little push to the number 7 of Brad Davies, trying to get this second groove to the front of the field. Meanwhile, the third groove starting to form, and it's 4 cars strong.
Yeah, and those guys are making some moves out there on the outside line. That's the 26 car, Jason Anderson. The 32 car pushing him right now, that's Gene Costa. Costa's always been on that third lane on the outside line. He must like it out there. But those guys are actually making up some ground out there, and I saw some moves, pretty scary moves down to the inside when some lanes opened up down there. So these guys are getting a little bit more antsy now and starting to make those moves that they wouldn't have earlier in the race.
Well, they know it's just about go time. They're going to log lap number 69 this time by, and they'll start working that 70th lap. 69 laps about to be complete here at Talladega Super Speedway, about to start lap number 70 here in the Deep South, and they know that the laps are starting to tick away, and if you're on the inside line, you're kind of stuck. You're in a safe zone where something happens, it's likely to slide up the racetrack and away from you, but you really can't go anywhere. You're stuck.
And we saw it with Byron Daly on that last caution. He was back behind the wreck. He was on the inside line. He was on the apron, and he still got caught up in it. So there's really no place to hide in this thing unless you're maybe, let's say, the leader of the pack right now, Theo Olsen. Unless something happens that you get turned, there's really no safe place to be if you're anticipating the big wreck.
The only safe place to be is where the number 8 car is right now, Theo Olsen out front. And he's got Jeremy Allen right behind him. Actually, Jeremy Allen, as we saw at Daytona, a very good guy to have on your rear bumper. He's a good drafter. So that's really the only safe place to be. And anything can happen up front. 5 cars out in the outside third draft. And that outside line, the third draft up there, the third wide line, is making up some distance. They're out fighting back for about the 10th position right now.
Yeah, what is normally the outside line has become the middle line here at Talladega, as that outside line, the extreme high line, is starting to build some momentum. And we're seeing these lines form in almost like step formation. You've got the inside line, then 2 to 3 cars back. You've got the middle line, then 2 to 3 cars back. You've got the extreme high side, and that's about as far as that extreme high side has been able to gain. They need a few more drivers to brave the dangers and go to that extreme high side.
And we now work with less than 25 laps to go as Josh Berry pokes the nose out of that middle groove up high, and he ducks back into line. But this is the place, this is the time where these guys have to start making their moves. They're down to the second choreographed moves to get themselves from the rear to the front of the field. Let's say you're Jesse Atchison or somebody back here outside the top 20. If you need to make the move to win this race, you got to start planning it and start executing here within the next 5 or 10 laps.
Jason Anderson, the second car on that outside line, he snuck his nose underneath the car in front of him. I'm not sure who that is up there. The 24, I believe, Pedro Mojica. But he snuck his car bumper underneath him a number of times and tried to make it 4 wide a couple of times now. And Mojica doesn't like that at all, obviously, and that's costing them some time. But it looks like Jason Anderson wants by Mojica and is definitely willing to make a 4 wide to make it happen.
You know, one of the things about points battles that a lot of people don't realize is you don't necessarily have to win races to win a championship. All you have to do is beat the guys that are beating you, and it's as simple as that. It's a very simple math equation. You beat the guys that are beating you, and you're going to gain ground. And you don't necessarily have to win races. You don't have to finish necessarily in the top 5.
Josh, turn around. We got a huge wreck back here. This is going to bring out the caution flag. And Nim, this happened about halfway down the back straightaway. They just didn't execute the wreck until about turn 3.
Yeah, you know, they came off the corner there. Parker and the middle line kind of grouped up there a little bit. and the 13 car and the 11 car got bunched up, and a number of guys had to check up, and guys got out of shape. And you're right, they went about halfway down the back straightaway. It looked like everybody was going to get it saved, and then Parker lost control, no fault of his own, and it took a bunch of cars out from there, and the big one was on. But yeah, they were wrecking for a long time before anybody started spinning.
The pace car will pick up the field in turn number 3 as the points leader has some damage. That'll put a damper on your run towards the championship, although Thomas Hazard, I believe, still has plenty of buffer as far as throwaways and whatnot, and that's one of the things we have not calculated into our current point standings, and that's something that we don't usually calculate into our point standings, so that it kind of throws a wrench into the works a little bit later on.
Indeed it does, and that will come down to the last few races of the season and all that fun calculating of the points, as your leaders do stay north of the pit lane, as Sierra Olsen, Brad Davies, and Jeremy Allen are scored as your top 3. The one good thing about that, though, if you are up there in the points, Ray Alfala, I do believe, dodged that wreck, so he might be able to pick up a few positions should some guys end up dropping out because of this one.
Tyler losing a lap now. He might have, I have to double check, but he may have exited the race. I believe he did. And so Tyler is out from now on, and he's last season's points champion, having another bad race here today.
Well, now I've seen it all. I've seen 2 champions in 1 week struggling. I saw Gregor Hutu on Saturday go a lap down, and I've seen Richard Towler struggle for several races here within the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. It's been an amazing couple of weeks here within the iRacing service. We're going to take a quick break here on PSR TV. We're going to come back, get you back to green flag racing action. Don't you dare go anywhere. You're watching the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship right here on PSR TV.
iRacing.com is the premier online racing simulation featuring head-to-head competition on your PC. Race from your home PC, competing on the world's best real-world cars and tracks. thousands of race fans and scores of pro racers like Dale Jr. and Justin Wilson are already racing at iRacing. Experience the thrill of victory yourself and go racing today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship round at number 5 from the Talladega Super Speedway. Tim Terry, Nim Cross, Daryl Morley here to call the action. Nim, we are under caution, working our 4th caution of the evening, and we are getting down to crunch time. We're getting down to the under 20 lap to go mark, and if you haven't made your move yet, you got to start showing your muscle.
Yep, lap number 76 we're working right now, and this is a 94 lap race. So about 18 laps to go from here, and we'll see what happens. But you're right. Right now, people are going to make the decisions. We're going to see probably some crazy moves from this point forward. But a lot of cars got damaged in that last incident, and they're wondering if their cars can even keep speed right now. So they're at the back of the pack, hoping that they're just going to be able to keep up with the draft.
Well, you mentioned what we have is we have a group of haves and have-nots, and we've got drivers that have damage and drivers that have not damage or do not have damage. And Thomas Hazard is one of those drivers that has a little damage. As he's got a little bit of front-end damage, a little bit of rear damage, and he's got a lot of ground to make up as he will restart all the way back in 30th position.
And just like Ray Alfala back here as well, he's sitting in 24th place position. He's 2nd place in the point standings, and he's going to need a lot of things to go right in front of him in order to get up there and even scratch the surface of a top 20 finish right now. He's got a lot of strong guys in front of him, and if he wants to gain some points, he's going to have to hope for some things to happen in front of him and maybe a couple of wrecks to happen and better what is now a 24th place run.
On that caution flag, the leaders, all the leaders stayed out. There was a couple cars back in the back who were pitting for damage and stuff like that, and even some that took on fresh tires. But all your leaders decided to stay out. Theo Olson is your leader, Brad Davies 2nd, Jeremy Allen 3rd, 4th, Thomas Lewandowski, and Tyler Hudson 5th.
You know, the guy that could stand to gain the most from this would have been Josh Parker. However, Josh Parker, the 23 car, will restart 21st, and he's got some damage to his car as well. So, points-wise, this could be almost a wash for a lot of these drivers. Josh Berry could be the big winner by the end of the night. However, Josh Berry, not exactly rocking the world here as the green flag flies and we get back underway.
Side by side going into corner number 1 as Theo Olson leads Brad Davies around, and Davies is on the outside and he's being shuffled back a couple of spots. Jeremy Allen, Thomas Lewandowski make a spot in the 7. Does the 1 let the 7 into line? I don't think it's going to happen. Move Tyler Hudson to the inside of the number 7.
Yeah, the outside line is not the place to start here, but the 7 car doing a good job, and he's going to get some drafting help right here soon as the 15 car of Joshua Lofton making his way to the outside. But Brad Davies is going to have to work that outside line, get momentum, get himself back up in there in second spot to see if he wants to be repeat champion of this race.
And don't think for a second that these drivers don't know and aren't very well aware that Davies is the defending winner of this race. The last thing that they want to do is allow Brad Davies to go back-to-back here at Talladega.
And right now on that outside line, he's leading a strong field of drivers back there. I believe that might be Josh Lawton on his back bumper, pushing him to the front, or at least trying to push him to the front. And then you got some guys in the inside line that are hungry for wins as well. I see Jean Costa down there looking to advance his position and maybe come home with a win.
Yeah, Jason Anderson looking up on the outside lane back there before we saw Jason Anderson willing to make it 4 wide. So he's back there trying to pick up his spot. We see some guys defending their positions right there. But Brad Davies only able to make his way up to about the 4th car on that outside line.
Yeah, Josh Lawton doing the best he can to give that push to Brad Davies, but only so much that Lawton can do. Davies getting the benefit of the push from Lawton and the push from behind Lawton, the number 43 of Jordan Hightower, but here comes a potential high line as well.
Trying to get that third line working, and that might be the way to win this race and go where the other drivers are not. And if there's nobody up high and you can get a couple of horses to work with you, why not? You might be able to make up a couple of positions, if not possibly contend for this victory.
Yeah, if you don't go high or if you don't make a move, you're not going to go anywhere, that's for sure. So these guys are doing the best they can to make some kind of moves to make something happen. And, that third line might be the way to go here soon. But the outside line, any line, you got to try to make something happen. We're working lap number 81 right now of 94, so 14 laps to go this time by.
Better off leading the high line than running 6th or 7th on the inside line. That is for sure here at Talladega as these drivers work their way towards that 10-lap to go mark. In just about 3 laps, we will get 10 to go for these drivers, and then it will be go time for the drivers that have an opportunity to go. And these drivers that are about 5th or 6th on the inside line, they find themselves almost trapped, almost stuck in their position. You are where you are, and there's not a darn thing you can do about it.
And you mentioned it, Daryl, if the switch has not been engaged yet to go, it's going to be go time here in just a few laps. If you're Jesse Atchison back there running around at the end of this pack, you have to start planning your move right now. You have to make sure the drivers that you are going to work with, if you have any of those still left in this race, are still wanting to work with you on that outside line. Here comes the 15 and the 7. They're trying to get up there, but maybe if they get 1 or 2 more drivers from the extreme high side or the low side to get with them, they might have a better opportunity to win this thing.
See the second pack back there, they're all working in line, trying to catch this first pack, and they might be able to do it if they all stay in line. They might be able to catch this second pack. They got 11 laps to try to do so, but when they get that second line, when they get that to the first pack, you might see that third lane, outside lane, try to form up where they can try to make their way to the front. But right now, Theo Olsen is getting his back bumper worked over by Jeremy Allen. Jeremy Allen is absolutely a perfect guy you want on your rear bumper because he knows exactly how to push. But is he going to stay there come that last lap?
I think as long as Theo Olsen is able to cover that inside line and not come off that yellow line is Theo Olsen's best friend. Allen can't go beneath that yellow line for any reason to make a pass. So I think as long as Theo Olsen stays on that yellow line or really close to that yellow line, I think Jeremy Allen has no choice but to stay right behind him because I think he's not going to have the opportunity to get to that high side.
I don't think he will at this point either, but Jeremy Allen right now in that second place position runs behind Theo Olsen, and we'll have to see what happens in these remaining laps as this time by. We'll have 10 laps remaining in this event. I like where Theo Olsen is at this point. Oh, we got one driver out of line back here. Is that Pedro Mojica going up the racetrack?
Oh, and we got trouble. The car just spin around.
Lawton found himself to the high side, tried to get back down to the inside, and the 43 of Hightower had already filled the hole, and around went Josh Lawton.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Darryl. He got out of line, and he wanted to get back in, and he got it up against the wall and was able to keep it up there, and nobody else got involved, so everybody else got bowed down. But that's exactly right. He got out of line, wanted to get back in, made the move, and there was already somebody there.
Tough break for Joshua Lawton, and sometimes, Tim, you get out of line and you just have to deal with it and go, oh, well, there goes my race, because unfortunately for Joshua Lawton, there goes his race.
And especially with 10 laps to go in this race as we're working right now, you can't really push up the racetrack like that. Of course, it's racing. Things will happen like that. But you really can't bank on the guy with 10 laps to go that's behind you, not shoving the nose underneath there. He wants to win the race as bad as you do.
Yeah, it's his job to pass you, and if you get out of position, he's got to take it. 10 to go this time by, and we'll probably get a restart here with laps about 6 or 7 to go. See how many laps of caution we have for this clamp. Should probably be a short caution, just one car involved. But you're right, Darrell. He could have gave up the spot and maybe went back a couple of positions and may, at worst, back to that tail end of that draft. But this lets all those guys back in the second and third drafts to catch all the way back up to the leaders. Not the leaders, but the lead draft. And everybody's going to be mixing it up now.
Yeah, everyone's going to mix it up now, and here's what it does, and again, we always say it's easy for us to second guess. We're not in the car. He may have thought that Hightower was going to give him a little bit of room, and if that's the case, he probably doesn't know Jordan Hightower all that well. It's awfully late in the race to expect Jordan Hightower to give you a little bit of room.
And especially when these guys are gunning for a NASCAR-sanctioned win, you do not want to have any mistakes. And if you can see that checkered flag inciting him, albeit 10 laps to go, if you can see that checkered flag far off in the distance and you're running second or third and you have time to get that first place position, I don't think you're going to be lifting.
No, you got to keep your foot in it and you got to go. And when that hole opens up, like they were saying on here earlier, it's so hard to pass. When that hole opens up, you got to go for it.
Couple of drivers making some late pit stops here, maybe trying to make some adjustments on the cars. I'm not really sure what sort of adjustments could they be making this late in the race, Tim?
I'm not sure what they could really do. We talked about guys overheating here earlier in the race. If you haven't put a whole lot of tape on it, this might be the opportunity to come down and make some adjustments that could make your car run a little bit hotter. Therefore, it could be a little bit faster when we come down to these last few laps of the race.
Yeah, they might be fixing some damage. Maybe no, they're not going to be adding any tape to the car or anything like that, but maybe some tire pressures, things like that. You put a little bit more tire pressure in the car, anything to, less drag, but they're probably depending, if they're doing stuff like that, they're only depending on a couple of laps here of green. So, maybe they're doing stuff like that, but most likely they're fixing damage back there.
Steve Sheehan tries to win the battle off from pit road with the pace car, and looks like he may have left pit road before the pace car put him a lap down, so Sheehan trying to stay on that lead lap.
And trying everything that he can. You don't want to lose a lap, especially here at this juncture in the race. We work lap number 87, and with only one car being one lap down there, and that is Steve Sheehan, you're not really going to make a whole lot of time up. You might make a couple of positions, but I tell you what, going to be tough for those guys to get back on the lead lap at this juncture.
Coming into the race is Thomas Hazard is your point leader. Steve Sheehan re-enters the pit. He's most definitely working on damage to that car. Hazard right now running back in the 23rd position. His second place competitor Ray Alfala also having trouble in this race. He's running right now in the 27th position. So the guys up front having some trouble. Josh Parker, he had some problems early in the race. He was involved in a big wreck on the backstretch. He's the 28th spot. Josh Berry got caught out under caution by being scored further back than he thought he should be. He is back running in the 30th position right now. Chris Main, the 5th place in points, try to figure out where he's at. He's also, I believe, way back there. So I don't know who's going to walk out of here. He's in 29th, so I don't know who's going to walk out of here with the point lead after this one. Maybe Brad Wright. Brad Wright currently 8th in points with 120 points. He's currently 24 points behind the leader, Thomas Hazard, coming into this race. Brad Wright currently 9th in this race. But you know, Daryl, we're on lap number 87, 94 laps of race. You could be running 8th or 9th right now. And who knows what's going to happen by the end of this race. It could all go real bad or real good.
Depending on how this thing turns out, you could be running 18th, 19th, 30th and win this race, depending on how good or bad it goes and depending on who you are and how good or bad it goes for you. Theo Olson is not a lock. He's all but a lock as far as a lot of people are concerned if he gets a good restart, and Jeremy Allen is just hoping and praying that Thomas Lewandowski does not get a good restart here.
And that way he can find a hole right behind that number 8 and see what he has to maybe even push Theo Olson, or maybe something could very well happen on the last lap that could spark something off that we could see a Jeremy Allen win here this evening. Anything can happen. We've seen it before on super speedway racing, that we could see the guy, let's say, back in 15th place possibly win this thing.
Theo Olson had a number of good races last year in the super speedway races where he was up battling with the leaders, but never really got that finish, as he always seemed to get caught up in the big one. Well, today he's out front of this race, and he's the guy in the catbird seat, and he will be controlling this restart. We'll get the green on lap 89. That'll be 5 laps to go when we get the green flag. You know, the 17 car on the outside line, that's not the place where you want to be. There's no way that the third place car, Lewandowski, is going to want him to get back in line, but we'll see if Lewandowski and Theo Olson are on the same page. If Olson leaves a little bit before Lewandowski thinks he will, maybe Allen will have a possibility of getting in line there.
Jeremy Allen needs to time his restart about as close to perfect as he possibly can, and even then I think he's going to have a hard time getting in front of Thomas Lewandowski. And don't forget about Brad Davies. Brad Davies knows how to get a restart here on a super speedway. Pace car is in. Tim, let's go green flag racing, buddy.
Here we go, getting ready to see the green flag fly once again to get us back underway to complete 88 laps of this event. Here comes the green, and here comes Jeremy Allen slicing down low right behind Theo Olson.
You saw those guys gapping a little bit, and we got Derek Wood spinning in the back as there's a little bit of contact back there on the restart. He's spinning that right across the start-finish line.
We stay green flag here as Jeremy Allen just shoving Theo Olson down the backstretch, literally pushing that number 8 machine towards turn number 3.
And right behind them, here comes Thomas Lewandowski back here in position number 3 along with Brad Davies. Or check that, Tyler Hudson. Brad Davies is back here with the number 9 of Brian Schoenberg. This race is far from over yet as these guys get single file and try to team up. Oh boy, Olson up the racetrack. Allen gets in the back. Jeremy Allen going to try to go for the lead.
Yeah, that's what. Oh, and Theo came down on him and got pushed, but that's going to wreck the 2 lead cars. Jeremy Allen is able to save it, but that's going to get a number of cars involved.
The 17 just muscled his way to the inside of the 8, and the 8 took exception to it and just turned right back down in front of the 17, and both cars will suffer.
I tell you what, Daryl, watching these guys behind trying to avoid that incident, we got to get a camera on Brian Schoenberg. All I saw was seeing Brian Schoenberg go below the yellow line trying to avoid that wreck and comes up right in front of, I do believe that might have been Nolan Scott. I'm not sure how those guys didn't wreck.
Yeah, they were doing some bump drafting coming across that line, but that's, those guys have been bump drafting all race. You we were talking about how Jeremy Allen's a good guy to have drafted on you, and it's been bumping on everybody's rear bumper all race long, and in this one it just happened to get Theo out of shape and Theo up the track. But I'm not sure if that was meant to be or if that's what just a result of the drafting and those guys trying to get away from the guys behind them.
Jeremy Allen saying that Theo Olsen lagged a little bit, and I gotta say, just before we went back to the green flag, I did comment to both of you guys off the air that Theo Olsen did blink before the drop of the green flag, so it is possible.
Yeah, definitely possible. I didn't see it at that moment there, but it's definitely possible. And you see the two cars, during that incident, they're kind of got a little bit absorbed by each other. So it's definitely possible that there was some lag going on there.
And it's one of the worst things to have in sim racing, but of course, with racing, it does happen. You look at in the physical world where you have a wire come off and something happens that the car just dies on you, that would probably be as close to what it would experience to have a lag on the racetrack where a car disappears in front of you and you really have no idea what it's going to do or where it's going to be when it comes back. So it's a tough situation to have, especially if you're running in a packed arrow at Talladega at 190 plus, and you're not sure really where the guy in front of you is or where he's going to go or what he's going to do.
Yeah, and what causes that? It could be anything. These guys are racing. Everybody here is racing from their home PCs from all around the world. We had Sandeep racing from India here, and if any hop along the way has a little bit of a hiccup, you get this what we call lag. And it's unusual, and iRacing does a great job of minimizing that effect. As we see, we've watched here for a couple of hours now of 43 cars racing bumper to bumper and door to door without any issues at all. And but occasionally, you have you have a little instance of lag, and like I said, that could be created from anywhere, that hop that it takes from that signal from that person's house to going in here. And it can just happen. It's just a part of the racing. We can look at it as a mechanical type defect, just like real world racers have any kind of, they can lose a cylinder or anything like that can happen. And that's the kind of way we look at it here. It's one of those things that are out of your control, but can affect your race, and may have happened there.
I do believe we're going to have the opportunity to talk to the 2010 NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Champion Richard Towler. Tim Terry, I believe you've caught up with Richard Towler. Tim?
Down here with Richard Towler as the lights atop the pace car do go or stay on, so we're going to finish this race under caution. Richard, a tough night once again here at Talladega. Sum up the evening that you had.
It hurt twice. That pretty much sums it for me. I was just riding along early in the race. I think Brian had to check up for some reason, and he just came up the track and couldn't save it. And then I had some damage, so I thought I'd stay out just because I got a decent track position during that caution. And then badness down the back straight. But I think it's just one of those nights. But I'm getting used to it this season.
And you hit the nail on the head. It's been a tough season so far for Richard Towler here on the oval side. Coming in, it would have to be thinking about defending the championship. 5 races into the season. How does that long season, the big picture goal change for Richard Towler?
Now it's more about salvaging what I can out of the season. There's no chance of defending the title now. After 5 races with not one decent result. So it's time to just go for race wins. So we'll be taking some risks and doing some different strategies now and just trying to get the wins. That's all I can do.
And talking about getting some wins, we head to Richmond International Raceway in 2 weeks' time. A short track. We've ran 2 short tracks so far this season. What do you have for Richmond, and do we see you back in Victory Lane?
It's probably one of my favourite tracks, and I've always run really well there. And came first last season there, so hopefully I could bring back a similar, car and challenge for the wins. But we've got some good tracks. We've got Richmond, Darlington, Phoenix. And these are all good tracks for me, so hopefully it's going to allow me to turn my season around before it's too late.
And a great way to do it at a racetrack. You've already been in Victory Lane in the NASCAR iRacing Series World Championship back in 2010. Before we let you go, we'll let you have the opportunity to say hello to anybody out there and let us know who makes it happen for Richard Towler in 2011.
I'd just like to say thanks to the guys at U-Technics for sponsoring me this season. And also thanks to Dale Jr. and Whiskey River for coming on board as well.
And there we go. There's Richard Towler, your 2010 NASCAR iRacing Series World Champion winner. And as we take the white flag here in Emmett, it's tough to see a driver like this struggle, but the good thing is the Victory Lane is got to be in sight for Richard Towler, and I'm sure we will see Richard in Victory Lane in our upcoming races.
Yeah, it can, you have a bunch of bad races, and that's, one of the great allures of this sport is, how dominant he was last year and how unbeatable he seemed last year. This year, it seems like nothing can go right for him, and, it's a tough break for him, and I'm sure he wants it to turn around. But that's what's exciting is all these drivers want to do well, and only a few of them get to. And it's just a testament of how hard this series is, and how much the new drivers bring into the series, and how much tougher the series is even over last year. Jeremy R. Allen is going to win this race if he can manage to get it around the track here for another half a lap. And he's a rookie this season, so this is going to be his first NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship win. And Richard Towler's having bad luck, and he won our championship last year, but now we have a new driver up top, and that's Jeremy R. Allen. He's going to take home his first NASCAR win.
And make no mistake about it, Richard Towler, even though he's having a rough season, is still one of the best sim racers in the world, whether it be roadside or oval side. And Jeremy Allen will get to join the ranks of some of the best sim racers in the world, and somebody is going to be going home with an Obuto cockpit. That means somebody gets to scream like a girl when they win. I don't know if they're going to actually do the whole girlish scream thing, but I don't imagine why they wouldn't. Jeremy Allen is going to take home the win here. All he's going to do is just cross the stripe, and he will take home the win. Second place will go to Thomas Lewandowski as Jeremy Allen will cross the stripe, pick up the checkered flag, and his first NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship win. Congratulations to Jeremy Allen.
And lots of guys who needed great runs here this evening. You look at your top 10, Alan Lewandowski, Tyler Hudson. After starting the season back a couple of positions, he trying to work or continue to be up in the top 5. He's going to have a solid run here as well. Brad Davies, Brian Schoenberg. And just outside the top 10 or top 5 Nimcheck, that we have a lot of guys that needed fantastic runs, and they got it. Gilbert, Mojica, Brad Wright, Jordan Hightower, and John Costa, top 10.
Yeah, this is really going to mix up the points championship, and we're going to have a number or big changes along this race. A lot of the top guys will be using that drop week as we talked about before, but this is really going to mix things up, and it's actually mixing things up so much that I really can't speculate on who our points championship leader is right now. But definitely an exciting finish, and definitely a good win for Jeremy R. Allen. And I believe somebody's going to win a new Obuto racing seat again this week.
Indeed, somebody else will win another Obuto racing seat, whoever picked Jeremy Allen. And if multiple people picked, well, Jeremy Allen will have that name with him. And we'll hope to talk to Jeremy Allen shortly as Jeremy Allen gets to light those tires up here on the front stretch. There's a wall in there, Jeremy. That's all right. You can go ahead and bang it up, buddy. They'll fix it for you next week. Not a problem. Jeremy Allen lights up the tires here. Oh, there's a wall out there, too. There's still a wall out there, Jeremy. Jeremy Allen will celebrate his win here at Talladega.
And Daryl, looking at the schedule, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Nim, this is the last super speedway race that we've seen when we talk Daytona Talladega, so I guess he can use the car up for all it's worth, right?
Yeah, that team probably has plenty more in the garage.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back with the post-race. We'll try to find out who's taking home the Obuto cockpit this week, because I believe that's 3 in a row for the Obuto boys, or the Main Performance PC boys. And we'll come back with our post-race. Coming up next, we know that Tyler Hudson's in the house. He finished in 3rd. I believe we may have Brian the Whole Schoenberg here available as well, and along with a couple other potential guests. Make sure you swing on back with us. Post-race is coming up next. You're watching PSR TV.
We've got the...
iRacing.com is the premier online racing simulation featuring head-to-head competition on your PC. Race from your home PC, competing on the world's best real-world cars and tracks. Thousands of race fans and scores of pro racers like Dale Jr. and Justin Wilson are already racing at iRacing. Experience the thrill of victory yourself and go racing today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back here on PSR TV. As you've just seen it all go down, 6 cautions over the 94 laps, 23 laps competed under yellow flag conditions, 6 lead changes, and Jeremy Allen takes home the race win. Jeremy Allen is your winner. Thomas Lewandowski takes home 2nd spot. 3rd goes to Tyler Hudson. Brad Davies takes home 4th. 5th is Brian Schoenberg, followed by Stephen Gilbert, Pedro Mojica, Brad Wright, Jordan Hightower, and Jean Costa, your top 10. We'll pitch it down to Nim Cross, who was caught up with our race winner, Jeremy Allen. Nim?
Down here in Victory Lane with Jeremy Allen. Jeremy, this is your first NASCAR iRacing.com World Series Championship win. Congratulations.
Thanks, Tim. That's crazy. Theo was lagging there for the green flag come out. I was just going to try to stay on him, ride second there. That's we got in place there on the bottom, and we went through the tri-over there, and he just got him, and he got all sideways and got up the track and stuff. I just want to apologize for him. I hate that happens. He would have won the race tonight, but the internet gets you every time.
Yeah, we definitely saw that. You're the guy who has pushed a lot of cars to the front, and a very good drafter. This is your second top 5. First win, you got the 3rd at Bristol a couple weeks ago, 35th at Martinsville last week. You were 12th in points coming in. This will be a good boost to your championship hopes, and possibly put you in line to fight for that $10,500 coming down for the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship.
Yeah, sure hope so. I think we got 11th at Martinsville. We've just been putting them together ever since Bristol. We were running good at Vegas, and we had some bad luck there, and then we just put 3 good races together, and hopefully we can keep doing this throughout the season, man. This is fun.
Well, Jeremy had a great run tonight. Did a good job, definitely with drafting. A little bit of controversy there at the finish line. I don't doubt that that wasn't your intention to move him up the track or whatever, but. We're glad to see you here in Victory Lane. There's also a winner of a cockpit tonight. Who's that going to be?
That's Daniel Gabaldon from California. He's the one who won.
Daniel Gabaldon wins a new Abuto cockpit because Jeremy R. Allen brought it home in first place tonight. Jeremy, who are your sponsors?
I just want to thank Abuto, Michael Main, and Main Performance PC. They've done a whole lot for the series, and Brad Wright, and all those guys over there, and this iRacing, and you guys up here broadcasting this.
Well, Jeremy, a great job. Fantastic win tonight at Talladega. Your first NASCAR iRacing.com series win, and I'm sure there'll be many more. And this puts you in line to fight for that championship, so great job tonight. We'll throw it back up to you, Daryl.
Thank you very much. I believe I've caught up with Thomas Lewandowski, finishing in second spot. Thomas, you gave it everything you had there, man. If this thing had finished under green, do you think you had anything for that 17?
That's hard to say. I was pretty happy with the second or third place finish. I don't know if I would be able to get a run on the outside. I sure would like to try, though. I never like finishing races under yellow, but I've had a rough few weeks, so second place here today is a really good finish for me, and hopefully gets me back in the groove here.
You started much deeper in the field than you finished here. You started 19th. Anytime you can make up that many spots here at a super speedway, it's got to feel good.
Yeah, it was a great run. I was pretty much just buying my time until pit stops. I was mired back in traffic pretty bad with a lot of three-wide action going on. But I had a great entrance to pit road. I had to give up some of the spots, though, because I was pitting in front of everyone. But made up a lot of spots in pit road, and pretty much just worked my way through traffic pretty good, and got lucky quite a bit too.
Well, we talk about luck and we talk about making your own luck, and a lot of people would say, well, geez, you're wound up with a pretty good finish. You had some luck here. Well, a lot of people don't realize that you make your own luck. You walk out of here with no incident points. You kept that car nice and clean tonight, man.
Yeah, I've pretty much just try to avoid all the trouble spots. I know I think I do a pretty good job of seeing where trouble might happen and keep myself out of it, and also do my best to slow down for wrecks and try not to get caught up in them.
Before we let you go, let's hear about friends, teammates, sponsors. Who helps you get where you need to be, man?
I'd just like to thank Wrangler, Jared Motorsports, Tax Slayer, all my friends over at the Drill Aisle, Dale Jr. Without all those guys, I wouldn't be running this good.
There you go. That's Thomas Lewandowski. We're going to pitch it down to Tim Terry, who was caught up with our third-place finisher. Tim?
Down here with Tyler Hudson. What a great run for this team, Tyler. Coming down to the last couple of laps, you had all the action unfolding in front of you. What did you see from the cockpit of the number one?
Yeah, it was a good run for the 8 assigned reps Chevy. I don't know. It was chaos. It would look like a little bit of lag with the service, I guess. I'm not real sure what happened. I was behind Lewandowski, so I couldn't see much. I just saw him go up the track in the tri-oval, and then I saw Theo turn hard left, and then the rest is history. So I'm not real sure what happened there.
And a fantastic run, going to put you unofficially 6th place in the point standings when we leave this Talladega Superspeedway. That has to be a big boost for this team.
Yeah, it really is. We've had a real good year so far. With the exception of Martinsville, which I think if I could have got a solid run there, we'd be even higher up in points. But I had some weather issues and the power went out and stuff, so that put us behind at Martinsville. But every week we've had solid runs and solid cars and top 10s, and if not in the top 10, we're right there knocking on the door for top 10. And so hopefully we can just keep this momentum going and finish. I'd like to finish in the top 5 in points. I think it's doable.
And you talked about short tracks, you talked about Martin, so we got another one coming up here in 2 weeks. We're going to go to Richmond. Can you possibly turn around that luck that you had at Martinsville with the misfortunes that you had and possibly get a top 5 finish and put yourself up into the top 5 in points?
Yeah, I certainly think we can. I think we could do it at Darlington. Pretty much anywhere, I'm pretty confident. We got a team that can build a car that can run, top 10 with these guys. And if you can do that every week, you're gonna do pretty good in the points. So that's the goal, and I think we can do that at Richmond, Darlington, all those tracks coming up pretty much. And so that's the goal, and that's what we're gonna shoot for.
Now, before we let you get to the sponsors, we need to give a shout-out as well. Your real racing career really got kicked off here last week at Hickory Motor Speedway. Talk to us about the top 5 run that you had there.
Yes, sir, it did. It was a lot of fun with a real good team. It was the first race, so I was just trying to get comfortable with the truck and everything and get confidence in myself and in the way the truck's going to handle under certain situations and everything. And I mean, it was awesome. I can't wait to get back out there and race again. I got to thank iRacing.com for stepping up and helping me make that happen. And it's great. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. I think we're going to be really good.
Going to be something to watch. Before we let you go here, Tyler, you mentioned iRacing on the real truck. If there's anybody else you want to thank or any final thoughts from this fantastic run here this evening at Talladega, the mic is all yours.
Yeah, man, I'd like to thank Ada Sign Wraps. That's adasignwraps.com. They do websites. They do sim racing, custom cars. They do real-life cars. Real-life race car wraps, pretty much anything you can think of. Logo designs. They built my website, TylerHudsonRacing.com. They do it all, and he's a great guy and a good guy to work with. And if you need anything graphic-wise or anything, y'all should check him out. I got to thank my wife in the other room for all the support. She's my #1 fan. And you guys for the broadcast and my teammates over at Wheelman Inc. I didn't get to help much this week with the real-life racing going on as far as the setup goes for Talladega, but hopefully I can make it up to those guys, and I got to thank them for this run, really. And that's pretty much it.
And there we go. There's Tyler Hudson coming home with a solid 3rd-place finish. And Daryl, he mentioned it, the goal for next week at Richmond, to get himself in the top 5 in points and keep her there for the rest of the 2011 campaign.
And that's always the goal. Keep it up in the top 3, top 4, top 5, as close to the front as you can. And I think Tyler Hudson has the proper goal and the proper perspective in mind. And that is a very mature Tyler Hudson that we've been able to talk to the last few weeks and over the last, I would say, year to 2 years. As a matter of fact, Tyler Hudson, we've seen this young man grow up in the world of sim racing, and it's really neat to watch Tyler Hudson and the things that are going on in Tyler's life, especially with the physical side of racing as well, with the physical world racing. In his first race, a top 5. How cool is that for Tyler Hudson? Nim Cross, your overall thoughts on tonight's race? Overall, not bad. 6 lead changes and 6 cautions. Go figure.
Yeah, a lot of good, exciting racing, a little bit of controversy. That's, what we always get our blood going here in all of these races. But Jeremy R. Allen, a new winner, a big shake-up in the points, and we'll have to get those sorted out. And you'll be able to see those points at NASCAR.com and iRacing.com sometime tomorrow. and we'll see how it sorts out. But all in all, a very good race. A lot of exciting news from Tony Gardner about new upcoming builds and new features coming and new cars and tracks and all that kind of good stuff. So a very exciting night.
Tim Terry, overall, 23 yellow flag laps. However, Jeremy Allen leads 5 laps here tonight, but that's all he needed to lead for his first NASCAR-sanctioned win.
And a very impressive win it was. Lots of fantastic action here at Talladega Superspeedway, as we expect when we come to a facility such as this. And coming up in 2 weeks, we have the Richmond International Raceway. Beaten and banging short track action, going to be exciting. You will not want to miss it here in 2 weeks' time. And I know Nim mentioned if you want to check out the standings, go over to NASCAR.com and iRacing.com. You can also check out InRacingNews.com for all the latest news when it comes to the NASCAR iRacing Series World Championship, the iRacing Road Series as well, and everything trickling on down through iRacing and also the real world action. You can find it at InRacingNews.com.
The next broadcast here on PSR TV is going to be April 23rd. The iRacing.com World Championship Series Road Racing side on April 23rd at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. That's the Infineon race. And then we are back here on the 26th. That'll be from Richmond. As before we get off the air, real quick, I want to see if we can't before we get off the air, we're going to see if we can get Brian Schoenberg in here real quick. His sponsor needs a quick shout-out, and Brian's been working his tail off for a top 5, and we're going to see if we can't get a quick word in here with Brian Schoenberg. Brian, you there, buddy?
Hey!
Brian, I know you've been working your tail off trying to get yourself on PSR TV. Let's hear about it, buddy.
Man, I've been trying so hard. I just got to thank InsideSimRacing.tv, Darren Ganji, Sean Cole. We got some new associates on the car this week. X-Lander Designs with Paul Strickland, Pro Geek Consulting, and the Landon Castle Qualifying Challenge, which is coming up. I believe it's May 2nd, 3rd. It was just a crazy race. I just got to say sorry for Richard Tower. You know, we had a racing deal happen there at the start of the race, but, I mean, what do y'all think of it? It's pretty nuts.
It was an absolutely insane race, and we're looking forward to more in 2 weeks, and we're looking forward to talking to you coming up 1 week from tonight on Hot Lap Radio, buddy.
I'm really looking forward to it too. We'll talk a little bit of racing. We'll talk about, a little bit of everything. I'm just so excited. I'm happy for our team, the fans, everyone. Just got to thank Jean Costa real quick for helping with the setup and everything. My crew chief, Alan Cryer, Donnie St. Hours, they've been with me all the way. But real quick, I just want to say, I don't know if you guys got to mention it in the broadcast, but we lost a good friend, a good sim racer. His name was Nick Hansen last Saturday, and I just wanted to say God bless him and his family. Thoughts and prayers are with him. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brian, and stick around afterwards. I want to fill you in on a couple things, but thank you very much. And we did get the mention out on Nick Hansen. As a matter of fact, you'll be happy to know that lap number 37 in honor of Nick was an absolutely silent lap. All we heard was the sound of the motors, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brian. That's going to wrap it up here from Talladega Super Speedway. On behalf of Ian Bushing, on behalf of Chuck Johnson, on behalf of Nim Cross, and everybody involved, Tim Terry, Matt Racing Kid Thomas, Ilka Hapla, everybody involved, and I know I'm forgetting a bunch of people, as I always do, and I always feel bad when I do. Everybody involved here at PSR TV, they're not whispering any names at me, so I must not be forgetting a bunch of names this time. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Daryl Morley, thanking you so much and reminding you, keep a shiny side up and rubber side down, and always, always, always keep that hammer down. We'll see you on April 23rd at 6 o'clock from Infineon when they go iRacing World Championship Series of Road Racing action right here on PSR TV.